So you're the one causing trouble here. Store owner says you stole.
No, sir, I didn't steal anything. I was just trying to pay.
We'll see about that. Empty your pockets now.
Wow, I didn't do anything. You can check the bag.
Don't tell me my job. Turn around, hands on the counter.
I'm just getting stuff from my grandma's cake.
Save it. You can tell it to the judge. You're done here.
It's all on video, man.
Greg Palmer had no idea what he just walked into. In the next 20 minutes, this single accusation would cost him his business license. It would trigger a massive $1.1 million lawsuit. The quiet teenager he was blocking wasn't just a random customer. He was the son of a woman who was already 5 minutes away with a legal team. The timestamp would later prove the boy had been in the store for exactly 90 seconds. It was physically impossible for him to steal what Greg claimed. And the very security cameras Greg refused to check were capturing every single second of his financial ruin. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? Drop your answer in the comments. But Greg Palmer had no idea who he was actually blocking from the exit. The teenager's name was Jamal Foster. He was 15 years old. He was an honors student, a track athlete, and a volunteer at the local shelter. Greg saw a thief, but Jamal was just a kid running an errand. However, Jamal had a secret weapon Greg didn't expect. He was raised by Shanice Foster. She was a senior paralegal at a major civil rights firm. Shanice had trained Jamal for this exact moment. She taught him how to stay calm. She taught him how to protect evidence. Most importantly, she taught him never to open his bag himself. Jamal knew that if he opened the bag, the owner could plant something inside, so he kept it zipped. On this Tuesday afternoon, Jamal wasn't looking for a lawsuit. He was just looking for vanilla extract for his grandmother's pound cake. He wanted to buy his item and go home to study. He didn't want trouble, but trouble found him anyway. Jamal stood his ground. He remembered his mother's training. He kept his hands visible. He didn't yell, he just waited. But he wasn't alone. He had already made a phone call that would change everything. Greg Palmer had a reputation in this neighborhood, and it wasn't for his customer service. He had owned the corner market for 15 years. He was bitter about how the neighborhood was changing. He didn't like the new people moving in. He had a pattern of behavior. In just 6 months, he had called the police 12 times. Every single call involved a minor of color. There was an incident 3 months ago. He accused a girl of stealing chips. She had the receipt in her hand. He still made her cry. There was another incident with a Boy Scout troop. They came in to buy water on a hot day. Greg banned them for loitering. Online reviews constantly mentioned the Watcher. That was the nickname locals gave him. He had a habit of stalking specific customers around the store. Former employees said he taught them to judge people by how they looked. He told them to profile first, ask questions later. Greg thought he was protecting his store. In reality, he was just harassing his neighbors. He thought he had all the power. He thought he could bully anyone he wanted. He thought the police would always take his side. But this time, Greg's arrogance would meet a force he couldn't bully. Type "not cool" in the comments if you think this guy sounds like a nightmare. It was Tuesday, October 14th. The time was 4:15 p.m. The corner market was a small grocery store in a quiet suburb. It was a normal afternoon. The refrigerators were humming. There were only about 3 other customers inside. Jamal entered the store at exactly 4:13 p.m. The security cameras recorded him walking in. He was holding his phone. He was talking to his grandmother about the recipe. Greg was stocking shelves near the front. As soon as the door chime rang, he stopped. He looked at Jamal. He didn't say hello, he just stared. The clock was ticking. Jamal walked to the baking aisle. He looked at the prices. He didn't touch anything yet. Greg followed him with his eyes. He watched Jamal move to the snack aisle. Jamal had been inside for less than 60 seconds when Greg made his move. He decided Jamal was up to no good. He didn't see a crime, he just saw a target. That is when everything changed. If you want to see justice served in stories like this, hit subscribe right now. Greg marched up the aisle. He was aggressive. "I saw what you did," Greg said loudly. Jamal looked up. He was confused. His phone was still in his hand. "Did what?" Jamal asked. Greg blocked the path to the door. He pointed at Jamal's backpack. Give me that bag, Greg demanded. I need to search it. Jamal took a step back. I can't let you search me without a parent. I don't care about your parents, Greg yelled. Hand it over. Greg reached out. He grabbed the strap of the backpack. Jamal pulled away. He didn't hit Greg. He didn't push him. He just pulled his bag back. This was defensive, not violent. Don't touch me, Jamal said firmly. I'm calling the cops, Greg threatened. You're going to juvie, kid. Please call them, Jamal said. I'll wait. Greg paused. He was confused. Usually kids got scared. Usually they run. In a way, but Jamal was calm. Greg didn't know how to handle this. He expected fear. Instead, he got a teenager who knew his rights. Other customers started to notice. A woman named Sarah was shopping nearby. She sensed danger. She pulled out her phone and started recording. He didn't take anything, Sarah said. Stay out of this, Greg snapped at her. Greg walked to the front door. He pulled a key from his pocket. He locked the door from the inside. Nobody leaves, Greg announced. This was a huge mistake. By locking the door, Greg was now committing false imprisonment. He was trapping a minor against his will. You can't keep us here, Sarah said. She kept filming. Watch me, Greg replied. Jamal stood by the counter. He didn't try to fight. He just held his phone tight. What Greg didn't know was that Jamal's phone call hadn't ended. His grandmother heard everything. She heard the threats. She heard the accusation. And she had already called Shanice. This is the moment everything went wrong for the owner. 10 minutes later, flashing lights appeared outside. 2 police officers banged on the locked door. Greg unlocked it. He immediately put on a sad face. He tried to look like the victim. He assaulted me, Greg lied. He pointed at Jamal. He stole merchandise and then he attacked me. The officers looked at Jamal. He was standing quietly with his hands open. Jamal spoke up. Officer, I would like you to secure the security camera hard drive immediately. I believe this man might try to delete the footage. The officers were surprised. Kids didn't usually talk like that. They didn't use words like secure or hard drive. We'll look at everything, son, the officer said. Then the door flew open again. Shanice Foster burst in. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't making a scene. She was dressed in a suit. She held a business card in one hand and her phone in the other. A colleague from her law firm was right behind her. I am his mother, Shanice said. Her voice was ice cold. And I am representing him. Greg rolled his eyes. Great, another one. Shanice walked right past Greg. She went straight to the police sergeant. My son has been unlawfully detained, she stated. I want the timestamp comparison immediately. Then the witnesses spoke up. Sarah stepped forward. She held up her phone. I have video, she said. The kid never touched anything. The owner just grabbed him. Another witness, a clerk who worked for Greg, looked down at his shoes. Greg does this all the time, he whispered to the cop. Greg started to sweat. Shanice turned to Greg. She listed the laws he had broken. She listed the statute for false imprisonment. She listed the rules for unlawful search. Greg realized she wasn't just a mom. She was a legal professional. He was acting suspicious, Greg stammered. He tried to backtrack. Being black in a store is not suspicious, Shanice replied, and locking a child in a building is a felony. Greg looked at the police. They weren't nodding with him anymore. They were looking at him with suspicion. By now, Greg was starting to understand that the kid he tried to bully had just checkmated him. Let me know in the comments if you would have stayed as calm as Jamal. The police sergeant took charge. We need to see that footage, he told Greg. Greg tried to argue. My system is glitchy today, he lied. Open it, the sergeant ordered, or we get a warrant and take the whole computer. Greg led them to the back office. Shanice and her lawyer colleague went with them. Jamal stayed front with Sarah. They pulled up the video file. The timestamp was clear. 4:13:30 Jamal enters. 4:15:00 Greg confronts him. 90 seconds, the sergeant said. He was in the store for 90 seconds. Then they watched the video of the theft. Greg had claimed Jamal was stuffing candy in his pockets, but the video showed something different. Jamal's hands were on his phone the whole time. He touched a shelf once to check a price tag, then put his hand back down. He never put anything in his bag. He never put anything in his pocket. Then they watched the assault. The video showed Greg lunging at Jamal. It showed Greg grabbing the backpack. It showed Jamal stepping back to get away. "That's not assault," the sergeant said to Greg. "That's self-defense. He was trying to get away from you." Greg's story fell apart completely. "Well, he looked like a shoplifter," Greg mumbled. "I have a right to protect my store." "You don't have a right to trap people based on a hunch," the sergeant said. The police made a decision. They declined to arrest Jamal. There was zero evidence of a crime. Instead, the sergeant turned to Greg. "Mr. Palmer, we are submitting a report for unlawful detention. You will likely be hearing from the prosecutor." Greg was furious. He doubled down. He said the camera angle was bad. He called the officers woke. He refused to apologize. Jamal was released to his mother. They walked out of the store. "Ray together." The staff looked relieved. The customers clapped quietly. But the legal battle was just warming up. Shanice wasn't just mad, she was prepared. Make sure you hit subscribe, because the consequences for Greg are about to get serious. By 6:00 p.m., Sarah uploaded her video to TikTok. She captioned it, "Business owner traps innocent kid." The internet moves fast. By 8:00 p.m., the video had 50,000 views. Locals started to recognize Greg. They started sharing their own stories in the comments. "That guy followed my son last week," one person wrote. "I stopped shopping there years ago," wrote another. By the next morning, the hashtag #CornerMarketRacist was trending locally. By noon, the local news picked up the story. Shanice helped them get the security footage. They played it side by side with Sarah's cell phone video. It proved Greg was lying. The video got 2.5 million views in 48 hours. The community organized a boycott. People stood outside with signs. They turned customers away. Greg tried to do damage control. He put up a sign in the window. It said, "We reserve the right to refuse service." Someone ripped it down within 2 hours. He gave an interview to a blog saying he was the victim. That only made people angrier. 3 days later, the civil suit was filed. This story was shared millions of times. Share this video if you think people need to see this. The Foster family didn't just sue for an apology, they sued for damages. They filed for false imprisonment, defamation, assault, and emotional distress. During the legal process, called discovery, the lawyers found the truth. They found the records of the 12 previous police calls. They found texts Greg sent to his manager using racial slurs. They established a clear pattern. This wasn't a mistake, it was how Greg did business. The case went to a jury. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury decided to punish Greg. They awarded the family $1.1 million. Most of that money was punitive damages. That means the jury wanted to hurt Greg's wallet so bad he would never do it again. The consequences were total. Greg didn't have that kind of money. His insurance refused to pay because his acts were intentional. He lost the business license. The city revoked it because he was a danger to the public. Corner Market closed down. Greg had to file for bankruptcy. He lost the property. On the criminal side, Greg faced charges too. He pleaded no contest to misdemeanor assault for grabbing the backpack. He had to do community service and take anger management classes. In a final interview, Greg was bitter. He blamed cancel culture. He blamed the internet. He never admitted he was wrong. But wait until you hear what Jamal said about the money. Jamal and Shanice stood outside the courthouse. Reporters were everywhere. Jamal looked older than 15. This experience had changed him. "I don't like shopping anymore," Jamal told the cameras. "When I walk into a store, I feel like everyone is watching me. I always keep my hands visible. That's not freedom." Shanice spoke next. She talked about how Greg saw a threat instead of a child. "My son is an honors student," she said, "but to that man, he was just a suspect. We have to stop treating our children like criminals." She had a message for business owners. Your bias is a liability. It will cost you everything. And she had a message for customers. If you see something, record it. Sarah's video saved us. Don't look away. Jamal took the microphone for one last comment. It wasn't about the money, he said. We are donating a huge part of the settlement to a legal fund for other kids. I just wanted to make sure he couldn't do this to another child. Dignity isn't for sale, he finished. Drop a heart in the comments for Jamal. This is a problem called consumer racial profiling. Some people call it shopping while black. Most victims don't have a paralegal mother. Most victims don't get $1 million. They just get humiliated. We need better laws to protect shoppers. Private property rights shouldn't mean you can trap people. But this case showed that when we fight back, we can win. So let me ask you, do you think Greg would have stopped Jamal if he looked different? Do you think business owners should lose licenses for profiling? Do you know your rights if you're stopped? Because if we don't fix the problem, then we're just waiting for the next Greg, the next Jamal, the next bad consequence. Comment below if you believe profiling should be a crime. If you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these stories. We're going to keep demanding better. This isn't just about one owner or one teenager. It's about all of us. See you in the next one.